to numerous opponents en route to the Final Four. And then Angel Reese and LSU bust their living you-know-what at that particular moment in time.
Caitlin Clark fans will carry over and watch something else that's not Caitlin Clark. That's the WNBA Finals. This is a 2-week stretch, 3-week stretch.
What I'm talking about. When Lionel Messi of Inter Miami is going to play a road game and there's 75,000 people buying tickets.
Caitlin Clark's injury isn't just another headline. It's a potential disaster for the WNBA. Why is the league ignoring its brightest star and the millions of fans she brings in? Stephen A. Smith says it's malpractice, and the numbers back him up. Stay tuned to see how the league's bad decisions could cost them everything.
Now they're not going to see Caitlin Clark, and if the WNBA does what Major League Soccer did, it will be an embarrassment.
That too, okay? But the reality of the situation is clear. I think it was a basketball play.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Caitlin Clark was a stimulus package to the WNBA and a stimulus package to whatever city she showed up to.
At the moment, I got it. The fact that the Sky was getting romped by 35 certainly didn't help matters.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's a phenomenon. The Iowa standout has taken women's basketball to heights we haven't seen in years. Her record-breaking performances are constantly making headlines. She's selling out arenas wherever she plays, and millions of viewers tune in just to catch a glimpse of her doing what she does best. A CBS game featuring Clark brought in 2.22 million viewers, not just a huge number for the WNBA, but a historic one. And yet there's a glaring issue here. Stephen A. Smith says the WNBA isn't doing nearly enough to harness her star power, and honestly, he's not wrong. According to Smith, there's resentment brewing behind the scenes. Not everyone in the league, from players to executives, seems thrilled with the idea of one player getting so much attention.
But loving the fact that they're being allowed to compete. We should not judge women competing against one another differently than we would judge.
This was the NBA and LeBron James or Steph Curry went down. You know what they're doing to these nationally televised games? They're flexing another team in there. WNBA doesn't have that ability.
That is kind of a relevant thing for people watching. And I actually think the Mystics are an interesting team, that it's going to have really good viewership in comparison to the rest of WNBA.
He claims these internal feelings could create roadblocks for the league's progress. Instead of elevating her and building momentum, they're stuck in a culture that, in his words, punishes players for being stars. Sound harsh? Maybe. But the numbers speak for themselves. When Caitlin's not on the court, attendance plummets, sometimes by nearly 2/3. Teams like the Indiana Fever have seen attendance spikes solely because of her presence, something other franchises aren't even coming close to matching. And it's not just about putting fans in the seats. Merchandise sales tied to Clark's name take a nosedive when she's not active. These are the same kinds of stats that leagues like the NBA and NFL have mastered exploiting. They know how to plaster their biggest stars on billboards, commercials, and primetime slots, building entire brands around a single player. The WNBA, though, it's falling short. Imagine a league not capitalizing on someone who's practically a walking goldmine. It doesn't make sense. Stephen A. didn't hold back, calling the WNBA's mismanagement of Clark malpractice. He says they're leaving millions on the table while risking the league's future.
Sonia Citron and the rookies are an opponent. We were talking about these rookies. Caitlin Clark and Sonia Citron are former teammates. Heck, Caitlin Clark and Sonia Citron could be long-lost cousins for all we know.
I don't think it's much ado about anything. I think both of you are 100% correct in terms of not only attributing it to competition.
And here's the kicker. If she's this critical to their success, why aren't they doing more to protect her? Speaking of which, Caitlin's recent injury just exposed an even bigger problem. Caitlin Clark's injury, a left quad strain, isn't just sidelining her for 2 weeks. It's a huge problem for the entire league. For someone as important as Clark, her absence doesn't just hurt her team, the Indiana Fever, It affects the entire WNBA's bottom line. The Fever have been riding a wave of momentum thanks to her impact, but with Clark out, everything slows down. From ticket sales to national TV ratings, the numbers are already pointing to problems. Without Clark, the drop in viewership is dramatic. Games featuring her have averaged 1.178 million viewers, but when she's gone, that drops to just 394,000. That's a massive shift. Fewer eyes on screens and fewer people in the seats mean sponsorship deals are suddenly less valuable, broadcasters lose revenue, and team merchandise stops moving. It's clear, the league has hitched its momentum to Clark, and now they're paying for it while she recovers. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when talking about this injury. He blamed the WNBA's lack of protection, pointing out how Clark spent games taking elbows, hits, and borderline fouls with little intervention from officials.
Number amount attached to Caitlin Clark. So if you see this number amount and you think that her being out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
However, I do think that a lot of the online watching fans and a lot of WNBA fans, and I don't mean just Caitlin Clark stands, it's like,
come to the WNBA. No fault of Caitlin's at all. But in the end, because of her greatness and because people were resistant to it.
According to Smith, neglecting to crack down on that level of physicality is a huge mistake, especially when it puts someone like Clark at risk. And you don't need to look far for examples of what happens when star players are pushed too hard. Think about Zion Williamson in the NBA, a talent whose injuries have not just shaken his team but the league's viewership and revenue. The WNBA, it seems, is following a similar trajectory, which could end in millions lost. Stephen A. Smith went as far as to say that Clark's injury could stall years of progress for the WNBA. With attendance at Fever games up by a mind-blowing 319% thanks to Clark, the league has everything to lose if it can't protect or promote its stars. So what now? Are they willing to let this injury derail everything they've built so far? Or will they finally act before it's too late?
Because people were hating on her. Because of her elevated popularity and the fact that she had gone at Caitlin Clark that way.
This is a huge blow to the WNBA, a huge blow to the players, the owners.
Caitlin Clark isn't just the WNBA's top attraction, she's the league's future. Her injury has exposed just how fragile that foundation is. Without her on the court, viewership tanks, ticket sales drop, and the league's momentum grinds to a halt. Stephen A. Smith didn't pull punches, calling the WNBA's handling of Clark malpractice. He slammed the league for failing to protect its star from unnecessary physical play, while also ignoring her impact on their growth. The numbers don't lie. Without Clark, the WNBA struggles. So, will the league finally step up and prioritize its stars, or will old habits hold them back?